That's almost like incidental.
Yeah, there was a guy who like he essentially like backed up all of I don't know if it was like it was all of OpenSea. He like downloaded all of the videos and gifs and pictures off
Yeah.
of OpenSea and made it like it's a NFT pirate bay, essentially. And like while none of that like technically has any value, he essentially did just like back up their entire library
Hmm.
just in case something happens. But like the
There you
point
go.
was to like demonstrate the frivolity of it, but at the same time, like it really doesn't actually capture any of the thing that the NFT is
Hmm.
supposed to preserve.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I read an article years ago about somebody who was like borrowing CDs from a library or renting them, and when you could rent CDs,
Hmm.
and like basically copying them all onto other CDs and like just storing them in their house.
Yep.
And obviously, probably, well, actually, I don't know, right? Because there are, I think, in some jurisdictions, laws that allow you to basically do that for your own personal listening,
Hmm.
depending on the circuit. Like, think about like mixtapes and things like that, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but
I think the issue is always
what?
becomes about distribution
Yeah,
and
yeah.
commercial
Well, it's
use.
it's interesting because like a singular case like that, like the giant torrent of torrent file of zip file of JPEGs or NFTs,
Yeah, yeah.
or this person who was doing the same with music CDs. Like, at some point in the future, it crosses the line from being, wow, if they ever like if it ever if ever really gets out or people figure out who it is, like they're opening themselves to prosecution, to
Hmm.
wow, thankfully this person like archived this. It's like a Rosetta Stone, or like
Yeah,
library of not Library of Babel, Library of Alexandria.
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, right? Dead Sea Scrolls, whatever you want.
That
That
somebody
that
was able to actually like preserve these things.
Yeah.
Uh,
But that's interesting. That's an interesting idea, because the concept of these blockchains we have today is that they'll last forever. Like, you'll be able to go back to transaction zero or block zero
mhm.
and look at what happened then all the way to the future. But at what point do they stop existing? You know,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's an interesting one for me,
I guess
because
when you burn the hash on the thing, and like
could be.
when
Yeah, I
when you
mean,
claim that ticket for the Nike shoe, the limited edition NFT
sure,
Nike shoe or whatever.
sure. But that record, the fact that at one point you owned it on this block and then
Hmm.
you burned it on this other block, will always be there,
Yeah, it's still on record. So
right? And so, but will that always continue to grow, or will we get to a point where people are upset with this clutter that we have in these transaction systems and decide, no, actually we're going to change the technology such that we can discard history that's old enough? I mean, I think that's an interesting question for me.
I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
but I mean, definitely not in the near future, just because it is still very much like a pretty like new thing. But I mean, that's the whole thing that gives like financial systems credit. Like they have a long history of keeping people's money safe, of like recording transactions and like doing what is right by the people that like entrusted them with funds, or
Sure.
they entrusted funds too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think like the historicity of it definitely has like a forward pushing thing that will keep it relevant for a long time.
Yeah, agreed. 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 I think it's going to be interesting when people figure out better ways to connect physical items to the digital as well,
Hmm.
right? And I
When
know
you're
there's
able
a
to like
lot of
scan
interest in
things
that.
into the meta.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or we kind of already have that in some ways. Like, you look at art, or a valuable piece of art. I don't know, the Mona Lisa. It probably has binders and binders and books, full of um, research to prove its authenticity.
Hmm.
And in I'm assuming, I don't know, I'm not an art historian, but I'm assuming in a relatively free form kind of way, that like this is a document from like 300 years ago, and it's in this folder, and it proves, like, and people I'm sure have written PhD theses on these things, like
Hmm.
just on the provenance and history of it. um you know but like, that's kind of a special case. There's obviously a lot of effort and time that goes into that. what if I want to instead, you know, um, I, I, I don't know, prove let's say not prove, but let's say commemorate this this you know wedding gift that was given, and prove that it came from me, and that somebody in the future, like it's an heirloom type of item,
Hmm.
it's a salad bowl or something like that, that it has kind of this meaning, and that this specialness to it. I mean, today, right, you would have some sort of certificate that it was created by this artist, and it was given as a gift on this date and had this value and things like that, and then somebody in
Hmm.
the future go, wow, like that artist has become really famous. This bowl that was like $100 at the time is now like $20,000 because they only made 10 of them and then went on to do all this other stuff. um, how do you prove like the provenance of that? And sometimes it's about money, sometimes it's just about like wanting to know, I think, where things came from. um,
I think it's
but
going to look
like,
kind of mundane in the future, as opposed to like looking at all the documents. You're just looking at like blocks in the chain. Just like,
yeah,
oh, I guess this is all the proof I need. There's no
yeah,
like, there's no deep account of how this crossed the
yeah,
Atlantic in
yeah.
a
But
oak barrel.
well, that's it, right? But I think it's going to be interesting, and a lot of it's going to come down to how much people care,
Hmm.
right? Like, do we care to know? Do we care to keep history forever, and to like, to what level do we want to track something like, yeah, I don't know, barrels of like, I don't know, raw materials traveling across the ocean. Like, maybe we care about it and its provenance for that period of time, and then after that we can kind of discard
Hmm.
the history, right? For example, or different levels of it. Like, we need to know that this amount was shipped on this date and it's got this serial number in case there's some problem with it, and we can track back. There's some, I don't know, like, um, environmental issue or something like that. I mean, that's of course very, very important. But I think in both of those cases, but especially the case where it's consumers and individuals, it has to be very seamless, and that's
Hmm.
something we do very poorly right now in the
Yeah.
blockchain space, is making that experience easy to use. Like, QR codes or like RFIDs and scanning stuff with the phone, kind of only gets you so far until it like either is easily breakable,
Hmm.
like the QR code rubs off, or somebody copies the sticker or something like that, or like clunky to use and not very upgradable. Like, what's the longevity of RFID? Is it going to be working? Is an RFID chip in this heirloom salad bowl going to be working in 5 or 10 or 20 years?
That's true.
You know, versus like documents from the 1700s, like it's paper and being well preserved, like we can hang on to it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that kind of longevity and ease of use is something we don't quite have figured out yet.
Hmm. So you're in the blockchain space. Your background was in computer. Was it computer engineering or was it programming?